Hello everybody and welcome. This is Roland Hartmann from Graphic in Motion, and in this tutorial I want to show you how to customize my Digital Action promo template. Before we get started with the customization, I want to explain to you these three different resolution projects you can find inside this After Effects project. So when you open up the project, you will see that you have three different compositions open, and you have also three different folders inside your project area. And as you probably already realized, these are three different resolutions. So we have a 1080p Full HD resolution project, we have a 720p resolution project, and we have a 540p resolution project. So if we take a look at the main compositions, by the way, these are the compositions that you have to render out in the end, then you will see the difference. So let's go to full 100%. And you see that this is big, Full HD, cannot even get it on my recording area here. And then we move to our 720p composition, and you see it's a little bit smaller. I can get it on my capture area. And we move to the 540p, which is actually 50% of the 1080p and still a common format for mobile devices. Then you see it's kind of smaller. So why did I include three versions? Basically just to save you some time, because if you do not need the full HD version or your client wants something for mobile devices, then you can just use the smaller resolutions and you will just save some time while rendering or even while customizing the project, because the small resolution versions work just a little bit faster. Okay, so let's get started with the customization. And for the customization, I will use my 720p composition. And one more little hint, the colors are kind of important. So let's say you want to customize, let's say, the 720p version, and you open up the scene one because you want to customize it, and then you want to open up the footage one because you want to import some footage. Then you see that you have these compositions, and you see that these compositions also have the same color as our main composition. So you cannot get lost, because if you put in footage into this pink footage one composition, it will only have an effect on the 720p version. It will not have an effect on the 1080p and will not have an effect on the 540p version. So be aware of that, and please always take a look at which project or which composition you are currently working. So I will show you this just as a comparison. If you open up scene one and footage one here, then you have this green color here, so you won't get lost. Okay, so for now I just will close up everything I do not need. I will also close the main compositions because I will, or you can find them anytime inside the folders. Nothing is lost when you close it up in the timeline. I just do it so that we have a little bit better of an overview. So let's get started with this customization. You know, the first important point is to import some footage into this template. And you see when you scroll through the timeline that in the end, or in the beginning, we just have footage 1, footage 2, explaining footage 3, 4, and 5. So this is really only whatever you put into these placeholders will exactly appear in the template. There is no color correction, there is no slow motion. So I really recommend that you color correct your footage before, and that maybe you already have some speed changes or whatever, you know, maybe you cut it already, your clips, and then you can just drag and drop them into the footage placeholders. And I will show you this quickly. You can enter the scene by double clicking, and then you see we have footage 1, and there is only this placeholder, and there's a marker which shows you how long the footage will be visible, and this is quite short. It's just a little bit over 1 second, because these are just these smaller short flashes in the beginning, you know. So to import footage here, you go to File and Import File, and then I choose my video footage. I have this really great skateboard footage, and I have to say thank you to Sebastian Linder, who is a really talented Germany-based filmmaker, and he does this really great skate videos. And when I saw these on Vimeo, I thought, wow, I really would like to use this footage to present you this template. And I wrote him, and he fortunately said yes, that this is okay for him. and I really want to thank him for this opportunity. So with my footage selected, I just drag it inside my footage composition, and I drag it just on top of my placeholders to replace them. And you see now my footage has 1080p resolution, so probably I should have chosen the 1080p project, but because I have not that much room in my recording area, I will just scale this down and pretend that it is a 720p footage. And I will not play around here much. I just say, okay, the first shot should be this amazing shot of this fountain here, slow motion. And you see that right here, I will cut to the next scene. So I say, okay, this is pretty nice. And now I move to scene 1, and now you see I have my first footage imported. So it's as easy as that, and it works exactly the same for all of these compositions. Open it up, drag in your footage, and maybe it's even better if you already cut your clips, you know, so that you do not have to scroll around like I have to here. And let's say the second clip should be this nice 360 flip. So right just when he's in the air like this. Yeah, like this is pretty cool. And now I go to my scene 1, and you see I have bam, fountain, bam, trick, and then it continues. Okay, so this is pretty basic and very simple, and now we will just move on to our a little bit more complex scenes and to the little bit more interesting scenes. So let's take scene number 2. And one more hint, you can see that these scenes are really in modular structure, so you can just rearrange them. You know, you can say, well, I do not want to start my movie with these flashes. I want to start it with, let's say, a title. Then you can just take the main title and move it up here, drag it in position here, and you see now, and let's say then you want to just take all of these and line them up like this. And now you see, now we start with a title and then we start with a movie. But I just want to undo that. This is just an example how you can use the different scenes to create your own story. But I will just use my preview. So scene number 2. Scene number 2 is working with footage number 6, and this is what I want to customize now. So I just open it up by double clicking on it, and you see that we have all these elements here and all these layers for creating our nice display here. And first of all, I want to use I need some footage again. So I can now just double click on my footage 6 cutout here. This is basically just the footage. Or you can also open up your project and you can go to your footage placeholders and just select accordingly to what you see here the number, so footage number 6. And again, I will just drag in my footage and we'll choose some cool scene. Let's take this one because I really like it. It's really quite cool. If you take a look closely at this composition, you will see that I have to delete this marker because you probably won't have that on your footage. So you see that we have 2 markers here, and one is called freeze and the other one is called outpoint. And when you are working inside the footage composition, you are probably only interested in the freeze marker because this is the moment when your footage will freeze. So you see now, you know, it's normally moving when I'm scrolling through here, but later on in the scene, it will freeze exactly at the point of this marker. So choose the frame, well, move the time indicator to your freeze marker, and then you can just pull around your footage and say, okay, I want it to freeze exactly, let's say, when the skateboard is like so. So exactly at this point, this moment in time should freeze. And in my case, I have to scale it down again because, as I said, it's a 720p composition and the footage is full HD, so I have to scale it down. And now when I move to my scene 2, you will see that the footage is moving normally and then it's just freezing and falling apart in 3D space. And I'll just show you one more possibility, but you know, this is more like footage editing. But what you could do also is I'll just create a marker here now, and by just hitting my star key on the numpad. And now I will just drag this out because I want to have this rotation in my movie. So I will just do a little bit of editing here now. This is probably, I won't do this inside After Effects. I would do this inside Premiere or whatever, you know, my video editing suite. But for now, I will just show you the possibility. And I choose my time remapping, and I just put a keyframe exactly on this frame. And now I move to my marker, and this will be the freeze point, which I selected before. And I will just put in here another keyframe. And now I just drag this keyframe really close to this one, and I will move them together so that they line up with my freeze marker right here. And now I just put this in the beginning. And what I've done here is that I just speeded up this whole flip and until it stops here. And if we take a look at the scene number 2 now, we have this flip, bonk, and it's freezing, and then all these nice things are appearing. So that's pretty cool. But what you see now is that this doesn't look really nice because these cutouts do not match our footage. And I will show you a really, really simple way of customizing this. So therefore, first of all, what I want to do, I want to select my cutout layer. And this is called Footage 6 Cutout. And when I press M on my keyboard, you see that there are 2 masks on my layer. And if you say, yes, the cutout is pretty nice, I just want to adjust it a little bit, then you can select the mask, double click on it, and now you can just move it around. You know, let's say you just want to have this skateboard in focus here, and then you can probably delete the second mask. And you see that this is determining which part of our footage is getting cutted out. But of course, if you want to create your completely own look, then let's just delete this mask. And let's select the cutout layer, and let's select our mask tool or the pen tool, and I will just paint a new mask. And let's say we want to have something more interesting here. So let's say we will do a really cool cutout here that's looking something like, I don't know, maybe something like this. So we have this shape of our cutout now, and now we can build our side layout or our page layout according to this cutout. So let's say you want to change these lines. You know, you see these thin lines and you say, no, they are not lining up nicely now. I want to change them a bit. So therefore you can just choose the stroke layer. And when you choose the stroke layer, you will see that we have all these masks in the different colors. And now we can just play around with these masks and generate our own look. So let's say for this example, I want to have one which is separating my skateboard from the feet here, and the other one, yeah, we can leave them more or less like they are, I guess. But of course you could draw your own masks. You can just move them around, whatever you want, you know, to create your nice look. And for this example, I say, okay, for me, this is perfect. I will leave it, the lines as they are. Maybe I will just put this a little bit up here and create a little bit of a different separation on this screen. But for now, this is good. And the next thing that I want to do is to change the position of this big rectangle here. And therefore, I just select my big rectangle stripes here. You can just take a look at all the elements that we have here and, you know, just click through them, and then you see which element is highlighted, and you can reposition all of them really easily. So let's say big rectangle stripes. I want to just rotate them a little bit and take the set rotation so that they line up here, and then I just will position it like so. Let's say, yeah, this looks quite cool. And again, I want to change the stroke a little bit, the mask here, so that they do not intersect here. You know, I'm really just creating a very quick layout now. And now I want to change the position of this title, of course, and therefore I just select my title composition or layer here. And now again, I will just move it a little bit to the left here, like this. And then I can, of course, also reposition this stripe here in the background. And of course, you can delete all these elements. If you say, I do not want to have any titles in there, and just make it invisible or delete it, or, you know, you can also add some extra elements. You can find all these elements inside the hard elements folder, and you can just drag them in, make them 3D and position them whatever you want. So it's basically really like a little bit of a model kit. So to create your own look, you have to invest a little bit of time, you know, but I'm sure that it really is worth the time, investing this time to get a really great and individual result. Okay, so let's do just one more example of customization. Let's say I want these pluses here right at the top. I want them to be at a different point, maybe here, because here we have a little bit of free space. So let's go down to the plus row, and you see now it's highlighted, and I just will move them down Y. And let's say I want them maybe just right here, you know, just right here. And I also want to rotate them so that they follow our cutout a little bit better, like so, and put them in here. And then I take the second plus row, and you see that they have a box blur on them because this is simulating our depth. I didn't use depth of field in the camera settings because this would have slowed down the render process quite a bit. So I faked this depth of field by creating it with box blurs. And also I didn't want the background to blur out, so I had to use the blur effect and not the depth of field camera function. Okay, and then you see we have another element here, which is this text element down here. And you could also move this around a little bit. Let's say we want to move this down here to this black area. I'm not saying that I'm creating a really cool design here, but I just want to show you what is possible and what possibilities you have, and that you can really rearrange all these elements to create your own look. And now if we take a look at our scene, and you see now we're doing this flip, and then it's freezing, and then all the elements are animating in, and you created your completely new and individual look. So for example, really in this example, I would just get rid of this one line here. So I would just take the stroke and take this mask and drag it out of the screen, or even delete it. It doesn't matter. So I think that I would be quite happy with this layout. It looks quite good. Okay, so this is basically it. This is what you can do. You can really play around with all these elements, shift them around, create your new layout. You know, as I showed you, just play around with the cutout layer. This is probably the most important and powerful thing. You can just create your really own individual looks here and cut out whatever you want, whatever is important in your footage. And so you can really create a cool layout. Okay, so what else could we do here? We could just change the color of these elements. So I can change the color of every element individually. I didn't include a color control where you can control the colors for all the inserts, for example, on one point, because I thought that it should be as versatile as possible. So maybe you say, I want this to be, no, I don't like this color, but I want this to be like bluish. Let's take over color here quickly. It doesn't work. Okay, no worries. So let's say I want this to be like blue, like so. Then you can make this blue. And so you can create your really very individual look. And you can do the same here. Let's say you want to take over this blue here. Now you see we have some color elements, and You can do this with every element. And of course you can customize the title, and therefore you just double click on the title composition and you will see now what we have here, how this title is being built. And again, here you could also just take out something. Maybe you don't want to have this font in here or this text, or you don't want to have these elements here or this time code. You can just turn it off. And of course you can also enter a title. So let's double click this and let's say we want to enter something else. So this is going to be a showreel or something, or a skate video, which is probably makes sense. So it's your skate video. So let's go back to our title, and maybe you want to put in here something like 2014 best of. It's a best of 2014. So we are kind of traveling to the future here. And now you see, when we go back to our main scene, we would start with our flashes, boom, 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 footage, and then this nice flip and bang. Then we have our title here. Of course, this would probably be more or less the main title, and you should put it in here, but this is basically everything you can do with this template. So you can really create your own look. This is really very versatile. As you saw, you can really shift around all these elements and move them and scale them and delete them and add them, whatever you want. You should really be able to create your own look and your own promo with this template. This is the most important thing. And this is what I was aiming for when I made this. Okay, so the customization works for every scene exactly the same as I showed you now with the example of this scene. So you can do the same for every scene. And you saw that I've already included all these layouts that I created for my preview video. So maybe there's already a design that fits your footage, you know, then you just choose the scene and maybe you just rearrange them in time so that you can create your own story. So in the end, of course, you have to render out the 720p composition, the main composition. And what else? Yes, one more thing. I forgot a little bit. I forgot one more piece of information, and this is you have, of course, to enter some audio, and therefore you have an audio composition on the end or on the bottom of this composition, and you just double click it, and now you can again import your file. And then just drag it into the audio composition and line it up so that it really starts with the first frame. And now you see when I go to my main composition, now I have my waveform here also reacting to audio. This didn't do anything before I entered, so I will show you this. Just turn this off, go back, and now it's doing nothing. But when I turn on my audio here, so there's a reference to this audio spectrum here. Okay, so this is it. I hope that you like this template and that you really create some nice promos, credits, movie credits, game trailers, or video intros, or whatever with it, you know. Be creative. And if you have any problems, then just feel free to drop me a mail. You will find my mail on my VideoHive profile, or also on my website, which is www.graphicinmotion.com. There, of course, you can find all my other templates and stuff. Would be really glad to see you there. So thanks for watching, and I really hope to see you soon. Goodbye.